Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be trying out a cute little digital audio player that does a few things quite differently, so it has a few aces under its sleeve. First of all, its digital to analog conversion stage is being done by a ladder of resistors, so pretty much how R to R ladder DACs are working. A powerful FPGA is also on board that does so many things, especially when fine-tuning its sound. This little fellow is called Hiby RS2 and its story has just begun. While this is one of the most affordable Hiby devices released as of late, coming at $480, I was shocked by the unboxing experience and by how many accessories are already included in the package. Just look how tidy everything is looking. It's almost like unboxing an Apple-made product from a parallel universe where they are making DACs instead of smartphones. Besides the unit itself, which is super cute, there's a high-quality leather case, which seems like one of the nicer cases I've seen on any portable DAP so far. It's thick, it's very sturdy on the outside, but soft enough on the inside so it wouldn't scratch its glass surface, and it fits it like a glove without wobbling a millimeter. Just try doing that with a Fire M17 case. There's a high-quality USB Type-C and coaxial cables in the package. I find them thick and much stronger to the usual stock cables. All in all, this is one of the nicest unboxing experiences I had as of late, showing just how much they care for the end user. Design-wise, this little fellow uses a fully machined aluminum case all around, so it already made quite an impression on me, and two glass panels on its front and back. While very small and pocketable, I believe it's very sturdy in the hand. It's like holding a miniature metallic brick in a way, so I believe its build quality is very much in line with their upper-class devices like RS6, for example. While having a small display of almost 2.5 inch, it's quite sharp, it's colorful, but most importantly, it's very bright. Right now, it has a brightness of 30%, and as you can see, it's already way too bright. And I believe that it's brighter than most Fire and Shining digital audio players, and it will be working just amazing in bright sunny days. This is also a touchscreen display, so you'll be swiping left and right quite often. I believe that it works quite nice. While small and portable, it has all possible headphone outputs, so you have a 4.4 balanced output, a regular 3.5mm jack, and a line out just in case you want to connect maybe a portable headphone amplifier or an integrated amplifier in a stereo setup. Two micro SD card slots are provided, a feature that I'm no longer seeing on huge and pricey DAPs as of late, meaning that you can store up to 4 terabytes of storage, which seems nuts and overkill, but cool nonetheless. As for tech inside it, we're talking about an offline-only digital audio player that isn't relying on an open Android platform, so you can forget about installing third-party apps, about wireless tech as Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, because it was optimized for the shortest signal path, for a very optimized operating system that wouldn't degrade its sound quality. Its UI is based on Linux that was heavily customized by Hiby engineers. I find it snappy and fast, and I didn't get hiccups while trying to play high-resolution or DSD content. Instead of DAC chips, you'll find a ladder of resistors, so exactly how their upper-class RS6 is working. A powerful DSP or FPGA is also on board that provides tens of sound enhancements that are working on a hardware level, including a switchable non-oversampling or oversampling mode. Several OPA op-amps are working at its output stage and a few more for its headphone amplifier stages, and it provides about 320 milliwatts of power on its balanced output and about 125 milliwatts on its regular headphone jack. So this is pretty much it, and let's check how it actually performs. Sound-wise, let me tell you right away that describing the sound performance of the RS2 is actually quite a complicated task, because it has a very powerful DSP that leaves a tremendous impact on its sound performance, on sound quality, on its tonality as well. So you can make it bright sounding, you can make it warm sounding, you can make it soft or thick, you can make it fast or slow, you can add some thickness to that bass, some mid-range presence, you can make it, you have even sibilance control, so you can make it bright sounding or maybe soft sounding in the treble. And I'm not even touching its equalizer settings because it has an EQ as well, so you can fine-tune it to your liking. I actually saved a preset which sounds the best for my ears. I personally like a more natural presentation and I strongly dislike a bright tonality. So I've set bass extension to 6, bass texture to 8, note thickness to 6, sibilance high frequency to -10, and impulse response to 10, since I like a slightly faster pace than usual, and I will be describing it from now on in this configuration. To my surprise, RS2 goes with a more linear type of sound as opposed to warm or inviting as it was happening on RS6. If I would describe its sound with just a single word, then that would be pure, because it just sidesteps and tries to leave your music untouched. It's not interfering in any way, so it just leaves it as pure sounding as possible. It doesn't add any kind of sharpness, as usually, you know, cheap based, ESS Sabre based digital audio players are doing. So it will not steal your attention with over sharpness, with very strong contours of the notes. It will not steal your attention with super fast shifts in terms of dynamics. So this is not a very punchy, but it's not mellow sounding as well. If you want a slightly faster pace or a more ordinary type of sound, you can enable that oversampling mode. And if you like a more organic, smooth, relaxing presentation, then you can enable that non-oversampling mode. For me personally, non-oversampling mode worked much better with acoustic stuff, and oversampling mode worked better with something like rock or electronica tunes. I'm not sure how they did it, but on high gain and on its balanced output, there is a decent amount of power on top, and it was able to drive even a few desktop planar magnetic headphones, but more on that a little bit later. When you have hundreds of resistors instead of a single DAC chip, you are creating slightly more issues as an audio engineer, because no matter how precise those resistors are, their very high number will be increasing the channel crosstalk, noise and distortion, because you have a very small PCB and that internal space is very, very small. So you need to find some clever solutions as an audio engineer, how to fight with that noise floor, with that distortion. And I believe that Hiby engineers are very cool, because they are not making copy-paste products as many DAP makers are doing. And of course, how cool is that, having a ladder of resistors inside such a small and portable digital audio player. Anyway, let's go back to our discussion regarding its noise floor. I've used its 4.4 balanced output, high gain with the highest sensitivity IEMs that I have at my disposal. And luckily I couldn't detect really anything playing in the background, so this is a very IEM friendly unit. It's pretty much noiseless at my usual listening level. Via high gain I was somewhere in between 50, maybe 45, something around there, so 45, maybe 50 out of 100, so plenty of headroom is still remaining on top. It works excellent with IEMs, and that's all you need to know. I could hear only very small traces of noise when I was going past that 90 volume position, so in between 90 and 100, which is maximum volume. But of course, with music on pause, nobody can listen to music at that volume. But it's important to know that at the usual listening volumes, even going slightly louder, you'll never experience any kind of noise, and this is a very IEM friendly unit. Power output is also an interesting topic, because sometimes it felt like a small little devil. As I was saying, with IEMs I was in between 45 to 50 maybe out of 100, sometimes 55 with hard to drive IEMs like 7Hz timeless. With desktop headphones, dynamic driver desktop headphones like Apos Caspian, RZH Mania, Kenerton Valley, I was at around 65 out of 100, so of course dynamics were quite impressive. There was enough power on top for some wild dynamic swings. The biggest surprise which I had was when some planar magnetics hopped on my head, like Mesa Elite, like Kenneth and Rogner. While I wouldn't say that it fully drove them exactly as a desktop headphone amplifier would do, or maybe a much bigger digital audio player will be doing, but still it sounded quite good. At around 85 out of 100, these two were already very loud, so I had a nice bass impact, I had a pretty nice, fast transients. It wasn't exactly sounding as Speedy Gonzalez, so it wasn't really super fast sounding like chip-based, ESS Sabre-based digital audio players, but it was fast enough. So dynamics were okay, but not exactly outstanding. But still, it was quite impressive sounding with big planar magnetics, especially considering its very small size. Long story short, RS2 will easily drive your entire IEM collection, your portable over-ear headphones, and even a few desktop dynamic driver headphones as well. Apart from a substantial power increase via its balancing connection, it also has a better channel crosstalk by around 20 dB on its balanced output versus its single-ended output. So if you want the airiest possible sound and the biggest soundstage that you can think of, just use its balanced connection for the best results. Also, resistor ladder DACs, desktop resistor ladder DACs, are usually the soundstage kings. So if you want the biggest soundstage when it comes to desktop DACs, just use a ladder DAC. Those are just legendary sounding when it comes to scale, depth, stage size. And I believe that RS2 is really no different when it comes to airiness, scale, stage, because it sounds bigger compared to similar priced and similar sized digital audio players. So it's bigger sounding compared to something like Shinelink M3X. It's bigger sounding than a much pricier DTR1 Plus. This one is a lot costlier. So yeah, I believe that it's quite impressive in this regard. Even with alternative raw tracks, which aren't known to be massive or airy sounding, it was somehow reclining my chair so I could look at a slightly bigger picture. It was not overlaying those notes on top of each other. It was not pushing me on stage with all those musicians. So in this regard, it sounds quite impressive. Still, it will not outperform much pricier, much bigger DAPs like Shinelink M6 Ultra, like M7, like FiO M11 Plus, FiO M17, but it still offered a medium-sized soundstage, and for me that's more than enough. Moving on to Transient Response, this is probably the only area that didn't impress me right away because I needed to tweak those DSP before it started sounding the way I like it. I believe that in this regard, the much pricier RS6 is more impressive, is thumpier sounding in the bass, it's faster sounding, it has a slightly better dynamic range. That one is certainly more impressive in here. With a few adjustments, you can make RS2 sounding quite similar to RS6, but still you cannot make them sounding exactly the same. That one will still be better. So after tweaking this one, adding +10 at impulsive response, it became faster, more impactful, but still I would describe it as mostly mellow and relaxed sounding as opposed to fast and impactful. In this regard, it worked much better with sensitive IEMs and portable over-ear headphones, and not so much with desktop-grade headphones that need a higher current delivery for a better driver control. Moving on to detail retrieval, the whole concept of RS2 as an offline music player only, bypassing a noisy operating system away from those wireless interference, was made for a purer and for a clearer sound. And I can certainly say that there is no hardness, no grayness, no sharpness whatsoever with this one versus some chip-based, Delta Sigma digital audio players as of late. This one sounds a little more real. However, it has tens of resistors, and of course those are adding a little bit of noise of their own. And of course, while it sounds decently clean and detailed, it won't outperform the biggest fishes in the pond. So it's not more detailed or clearer sounding compared to, say, a Shinelink M7, maybe to a FiO M17, but it doesn't need to. At this price, at this size, I believe that it's clean and detailed enough, especially for for me and for my music collection. I believe that it's enough what I'm finding in here. Still, it will outperform something like DTR1, which is DTR1 Plus, which is about 2 times more expensive. So for me, there's enough resolution and transparency with this one. Checking out its frequency response, you'll need to add some bass thickness, some bass texture. Otherwise, it will sound quite mellow, quite relaxed in the bass. So in its stock form, it will not impress a bass addict, but after some fine-tuning, I was back to headbanging with my rock and electronica tunes. At this point, I find it clean and extended enough, but only if I'm not using desktop headphones. It didn't have a smooth, warm, creamy and sweet mid-range at first, and in this regard it actually reminds me very much about its bigger brother RS6, which sounded very similar. However, it did sound real and lifelike from the very first moment. That was very clear from the start. This is one of those areas where resistor ladders are outperforming chip-based Delta Sigma DACs, and I do believe that RS2 knows how to make music and it knows how to make justice to the mid-range. Its treble output felt hotter at first. There was a bigger accent on the S sounds, which felt all over the place and a little bit overdone. But after adjusting that C-balance control to -10, I'm no longer finding it bright or treble tilted in a way. You can make it even rolled off sounding in the treble with that DSP, so again, you can make it smoother sounding if you please. One thing to remember is that hundreds or tens of resistors, I don't know exactly how many are in here, will be improving in time, so with some burn-in it will sound more natural, especially when it comes to treble output. As a very short comparison in between RS2 and DTR1 Plus, I will just say that RS2 feels like a gem and this one feels like an unpolished stone, both in terms of build quality but also sound quality. This one was lacking resolution, it was lacking fast transients, it was always mellow, always slow sounding, even if it costs about 2 times more compared to RS1. This one wasn't that fast sounding at first in its stock form, but after some fine-tuning it worked much better with modern tunes, so it definitely was a little more impactful and faster sounding. It was bigger sounding by default in terms of soundstage compared to this one. With this one it felt like listening only to a small portion of my music. It was losing quite a lot of resolution and micro details. It was always mellow and slow sounding. But I could make RS2 fast or slow, I could make it warm or bright, I could make it exactly as I wanted. So in this regard it was better sounding, and of course its build quality is better as well, and it costs 2 times less. I cannot recommend the DTR1 Plus. Please don't buy this one, it's overpriced. But this one is much better. I can recommend this one. This one is just outstanding. As for my conclusions, if there is a chameleon-like portable digital audio player that changes its tonality according to your preference, then that's definitely the Hiby RS2. Personally, I cannot live without my Kobo subscription because I'm using that one for music discovery, for music listening, but in case of a post-apocalyptic world, I know exactly what unit I will be using. I just need to get several high-capacity micro SD cards, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay guys, I'll see you soon. Do some great things and don't forget to be positive. Cheers!